Hey everyone, episode number 2 is one I'm going to do as much learning as you. We're going to welcome Greg Dickerson back. How you doing, sir?
Doing great.
So one of the topics I get a lot, which I have zero experience on, is investing out of state. Uh, you know, your beginnings are a lot like mine. You kind of created a farm area and you kind of did a lot there, right? Kind of here to there. But as you've grown, as you've expanded your empire, you now look nationwide for deals that make sense. So I've been meaning to ask you, how do you get comfortable looking at deals out of state? What do you do now? Just how do you get comfortable out of state committing capital in places you don't live?
So not even out of state, but internationally. So I can
Oh,
get
there we go.
comfortable with property anywhere in the world. Property, business, whatever it is, you can drop me anywhere in the world and I'll figure it out in minutes. So the fundamentals are the same. It doesn't matter where you are. You got to know your market. You start there. You study the market. So whatever your asset type is in class, you want to study the market and understand the metrics, the KPIs in the different markets you're looking at. So first of all, if you're you got to be an expert where you are first
Hmm.
before you can be an expert anywhere else in terms of a market
Ah,
or a business or an
I like that.
opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fundamentals are the same. Property is property no matter where you go. It's location, right? First and foremost. Development, ground up, outside in. I don't care where you are in the world. It starts with the foundation, exterior walls and framing, and then you close in. So, all of the fundamentals of real estate and development are the same anywhere in the world. The materials are different, the demographics are different, the geography is different, the terrain is different, all of that type of stuff. So I always say real estate's hyper local. So when you're looking at real estate, nowadays we have so much available between, Google Maps, LoopNet, Crexy, all the different commercial and residential, Zillow, Realtor.com. You can narrow down and look at property anywhere in the world and see that house, building, whatever. So I always say it's city, it's neighborhood, it's blocks, it's street, and it's position on that street. All of that can make a huge difference. And we say location, location, location. That's the number one thing in real estate. And you might think, if you want to do a retail, you need foot traffic. You got to have foot traffic. Well, not every market is foot traffic retail, right? There are some markets that retail's destination. Outback Steakhouse, one of the greatest restaurants of all time. They can almost go anywhere. People know and love Outback, so they don't need retail traffic. But if you want to open a self-storage facility nowadays, you better have foot traffic and drive-by traffic so that people see you, so you're front and center. So those types of nuances can make a difference depending on where you are in the country and where you are in the world in terms of what it is you want to do. You need to understand, how does the population interact? How do they function? Where do they live? Where do they eat? Where do they go? Where do they shop? Where do they go to school? All those types of things. And that is so easily learned. You can look at almost any market and figure it out within 10 or 15 minutes with all of the information available online nowadays.
That's amazing. One of the things you said right at the beginning that hit me between the eyes, and I tell people all the time, is what I teach, one rental at a time. It is a skill that can be learned, right? People aren't born with it. So I think you said something like, if you learn, you got to learn local first, and then you can take it worldwide. That's exactly what I talk about. I kind of equate it to a golf swing. I hate using sports analogies because not everybody's there, but I don't have a better one, right? First time I picked up a golf club, it was the most awkward thing I've ever done. And I'm relatively athletic. So what do? Well, you go to a driving range and you swing and you hit, thousands of balls. Then maybe you go get a coach and it fine tunes your swing and all of that. And only after that do you take it to a golf course. But once you're there, you can go to any golf course in any state, any country, and play golf. It's just like real estate investing. Pick a market, ideally local, because you can kick rocks, you can drive it, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can meet people, ask lots of questions. You can learn it faster. And once you make that investment, you have built a skill of learning that market, which that skill can translate to anywhere. I was thinking nationally, and you're like, no, dude, think bigger. It's international. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you're amazing. I think that is.
Yeah, anywhere in the world, business, real estate, doesn't matter. The fundamentals are the same. The market's different, the people are different, their habits are different, how they function, but you can learn that and get up to speed very quickly. The one thing I want to point out that you said that's really interesting is, you picked the club up and started swinging first, then went to see a coach before you hit the course.
Mhm.
So how were every one of us taught anything in our lives? We were taught first before we went out and did it. Baseball, you're athletic.
Yeah.
You didn't go swing a bat. Somebody taught you. A coach taught you. Get the coach first.
Mm.
Okay. Get a coach first, get the knowledge and the wisdom first before you swing that club. You'll save yourself 1,000 times swinging the ball and getting all frustrated and wondering why it goes bang, bang, instead of going straight. Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, that was the wrong ball you were hitting. That's all that. No.
Yeah. The ball's
Start with a coach. Now, where's a coach? Coaches, it can be people, it can be books, it can be courses, it can be seminars, it can be, meetups, it can be whatever. But, learn from others. Okay. Don't try to go, figure it out all on your own. There's tons of information out there now and people that can help you. And just think about that. As kids, we were taught everything by somebody. We very rarely do we just pick up a bat and start swinging it. Somebody taught us somewhere how to swing that sucker.
Yeah, I love this analogy. So, I mean, let's just talk about that bat in my personal experience. So what I did is I saw people on TV, athletes. I mean, it was baseball, right? I didn't know a difference. It was just an athlete. So I got a bat. I bet you I was 3 or 4 years old. And I did. I just started swinging it and started hitting all kinds of things, balls and other things. If you listen to my mom's stories, bad. And then, I had a coach, and a coach was, frankly, was my mom, because my dad wasn't around. So she told me, and she positioned the feet and, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, the coach can be, it doesn't have to be you or I. It's like, I have an interest. Mom, in this case, saw my interest in a bat, baseball in this case. And she's like, okay, here's a bat. This is what you do. You're right-handed. So you hold your hands this way. Your feet need to be planted, right? You pivot with your waist. I mean,
and those fundamentals will never change. But what does change is the size of the field, the rules of the league,
the speed of the ball,
game, and the level.
Yep.
The fundamentals are stay the same. You step into that batter's box the same way when you're 5 as you do when you're 35.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. So that's the same thing with markets. And, I've had this conversation with people. They're like, how do I coach people all over the world? How do I do deals all over the world? And I'm like, well, the fundamentals are the same. The rules, the laws, those types of things are a little bit different in different countries, and you need to be able to understand those. If you can't, you don't do business there.
If they're opaque, then don't play. Yeah.
Now, the key that a lot of people will, so here's some mistakes a lot of people will make is that, if you're in California or wherever and property is really expensive and you see something in Indiana, or Kansas or wherever, and these cheap turnkey rentals, and people want to, go do those types of things just because they're cheap. Well, understand, if things are cheap, there's a reason, so you got to understand what you're getting into. So again, it's understanding the market, having the right team, the right people, knowing what kind of questions to ask. That's why you got to start where you are, so that you just understand real estate in and of itself. You understand business in and of itself. You understand the numbers. Okay. And that's really what we talk about at the end of the day. All this stuff we're talking about, it all boils down to numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. You got to know your numbers. You got to know the metrics, the KPIs, and everything that makes those things happen, and the data, so that when you're asking questions out of state to your team, which is going to be realtors, attorneys, contractors, all those types of things, you can ask intelligent questions, and whether or not you're doing the right thing because of the questions. You know how to ask the right questions.
Yeah. So I really want to go back to your first point, which was really amazing, is you get good locally, right, in your backyard. So in your experience, what does it, I'm going to guess it takes years, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. How long does it take to become an expert, in your opinion, if you're focused on an asset type or an area, before you should feel comfortable enough taking that knowledge and skill elsewhere? Because it's not immediate, I'm guessing.
Well, I mean, it can be if you know real estate in and of itself, so you can do deals anywhere but your hometown, as long as the business itself. So the question is, how long is it going to take you to get up to speed and understand the terminology, the language, the rules, laws, the financing, all that kind of stuff. But if you understand it and you know how to evaluate a property, what's a good area, whatever your strategy is going to be, you don't have to do anything. You can go anywhere you want if you understand the business. So that can be immediate.
Yeah. So I get that question a lot. The question goes something like this: hey, I want to invest out of state, but I don't know where, but I want to do one rental at a time. I want to take your course, how to get started. And what should I do? Well, I always tell them, like you just said, I've always told them that you should start learning the golf swing locally. You can meet more people, you can go see stuff, you can drive it, you can feel it, you can touch it. And I've always told people for me, I don't believe you can do it. Again, I'm talking to people that work full time, right? So they're not in this business full time. I tell them it's 90 days at least before you can tell me Fresno, Mayfair, 9 through 703, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 2-bath between here and here. I want you to spend 90 days looking at it before I'm going to go, hey, you've got a skill that now can translate out of state. That's how I answer that question. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, like I said, the time frame, it just depends on how much their capacity to understand their, where they are, so it could be, a couple of weeks for somebody, it could be a year, I mean, it just depends on the individual. So I wouldn't say any kind of time frame. I would say, here's what I would say. Okay. When you can tell me the rents in the market you're looking at out of state. Okay. Sure. When you can tell me, what the average rents are, what's the demographic of the tenant living in the property you're looking at? How many of them are on the market? How long they've been on the market? How many are under contract? How long were they on the market? How many have sold? How long were they on the market? What did they sell for? Asking price to settle price last 3, 6, and 12 months. And what is your vacancy, occupancy rate, demand? When you can tell me all those things, you're ready without having to look, when you just know it. Yeah. So that's what I mean by knowing your market, knowing your business, and you can get up to speed on those things very quick. And that's what I mean by asking the right questions to your team. What are the rehab costs? What are the, what is the property management fees? How many property managers are there? What does their track record look like? I mean, all these things, that's what I mean by knowing your market, knowing the business, knowing the numbers of your business. It's all the little parts and pieces, being able to quote all that stuff to me. If you told me I want to go open a restaurant, and you want me to invest and back you in a restaurant, I'd say, okay, what kind of permits are required? How much do they cost? What's the lease rate? How much is it going to cost to build it out? What's your food cost going to be? What's your labor cost going to be? What's the labor pool look like? What does the location look like? How many cars per day? How many square feet in the restaurant? What's your sales per square foot on average? You doing full serve, quick serve, fast casual, fast food, so, when you can tell me all that stuff, then let's talk about me investing with you. But most people can't. They're like, no, man,
I got this idea
the other day and everybody loved my barbecue and said I should open a restaurant. So go fund me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So again, folks, I just, my opinion when I get this, I get it all the time. Remember what I'm asking for is 10 to 20 minutes a day. So I'm asking for 7 days a week. If you want to do 6, because you take Sundays off, so be it. But I tell you right up front, it's going to take you 90 days at that. If you want to do more time and you can get to the answers faster, great. But most of you have full-time jobs, you have families, you already don't have enough time. So I want 10 to 20 minutes a day, and it's going to take you 90 days to get there, in my opinion.
Well, God created the world in 6 days. You can certainly spend 6 days learning it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Well, Greg, this is very cool. Thank you very much for topic number 2. Thank you.
Yes, sir.